Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review of the 1v1 Fight Gear Peacemaker boxing gloves. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review of the 1v1 Fight Gear Peacemaker boxing gloves. These are handmade here in the United States. I got mine in this beautiful custom royal blue, orange, and cream colorway with white laces. 16 ounces in lace up. You can also get the Peacemakers in Velcro closure. Anywhere between 10 to 16 ounces. It's made of full, genuine Italian leather on the exterior of the glove with a combination of micro suede and a synthetic polyester liner that's silky smooth on the inside of the hand compartment. And in this particular model, a combination of foam and horsehair over the knuckles that I'd say is medium to soft in firmness, and I'd say about 2 inches in total thickness over your knuckles. You do also have the option for a full foam version if you wanted to go with that as well, where instead of using a combination of horsehair and foam, they have a layered foam version of the Peacemakers. And that's completely up to you, completely subjective on what route you want to go when it comes to the padding of the glove. And lastly, you do have reinforced welted seams throughout the entire glove. And of course, like I mentioned before, the gloves are handmade here in the United States. Okay, so in regards to design, let's start off with the sizing and profile of this glove. Compared to other 16-ounce gloves, I'd say that these are about medium in size profile. They're not overly large and bulky, nor are they too small and compact. I'd say they're right there in the middle. So if you have small, regular sized hands like myself or somebody with larger hands, I could definitely see that this glove would be pretty accommodating for all hand sizes. The leather on here definitely has a very thick and high-end premium feel to it. It has more of a satin finish on both the blue, the orange, as well as the cream leather. You do have the 1v1 logo on the back of the glove in white. That looks really good. Nice and clean, straight to the point, nothing too crazy there. You do have the welted seams throughout the entire glove where the intersecting leather connects to each other. Typically where you would see stitching, you do have the welted seams right there. The back of the wrist support is a flat cuff in orange. And again, you can see the texture of the leather has a little bit of a texture there, but it is pretty smooth overall. The piping is nice and large and thick. Again, feels very premium in that cream colorway. I think the cream looks really sharp compared to using like a white piping. The cream really gives a nice contrast between the orange and the blue to kind of break things up. So I definitely like the way that looks. The back of the wrist support, you're looking at about 1 inch of medium density foam padding on the back of the wrist. And like I showed you guys earlier, you do have a combination of a silky synthetic polyester on the inside liner right there. And you also do have a micro suede, and the color is almost like kind of like a light orange, almost like a kind of a copper color, but you do have that inside there. You also do have a warning label tag on the inside that says 1v1 Fight Gear, made in the USA. And you know, these are gloves that I personally have not tried as the Peacemaker model. I did try a pair of an earlier rendition of the Peacemakers years ago that I got from Jason at 1v1. And then 1v1 as a whole, as a company, you know, I think I tried their gloves. I mean, the very first time I tried their very first pair of gloves, they didn't even have the name. I don't even think they were called the Pro Trainer Elites yet. They're PTE gloves. It was just like their very first model. So it was just like their boxing gloves, or should I say it was his boxing gloves. So it's really cool to kind of see the evolution of 1v1 over the years with their glove models, with the Peacemaker being probably one of the more popular ones. Obviously they have the PTEs, which were initially kind of like a Japanese inspired winning style glove, which a lot of companies do, where they try to give you that, you know, they try to feed you into that market with Japanese style gloves with that. But so you do have that on the inside. Coming around to the inner wrist support, you're looking at about, again, about 1 inch medium density foam padding on the inside of the wrist. It does say 16 ounces right here, or should I say 16 at the bottom to designate the weight. You also have Peacemaker written vertically on the other side of the wrist support. And again, you have about an inch of padding that comes up there. And you can see that the stitching is what actually keeps the padding into place. Again, cream piping. The laces on here are, I'd say, a really good length. They're not extremely long to where it's annoyingly long, where you have to continue to wrap your hands over and over or rotate it around your wrist. But they're not too short either. And the laces are really nice quality as well. They're flat with plastic tips, and they're a polyester cotton blend, so there is some stretchability to it. Base of the piping is going to be cream, again, welted seam between the contrast of the royal blue and the orange on the outer portion of the thumb. You do have a leather attached thumb in black with some stitching right there. And on the inside of the palm, I'll show you that grip bar. The grip bar is very firm, almost feels like a piece of rubber tube that he most likely uses, and it's a pretty good size as well. So I definitely love the way the grip bar feels, and no ventilated holes on the inside of the palm or in the inner thumb, which they don't have. So would have been nice to have some type of ventilated holes there, but some companies just don't do that with their gloves. I think Winning doesn't even have ventilated holes on their gloves either, but so no ventilated holes there. But overall, a very beautifully designed glove, very slick. And essentially, the gloves that you order from their website are essentially custom. Jason sometimes will put some gloves he's made. Maybe they were a custom order and it fell through, or he just had a couple of customs he put together, and he'll put them for sale, so they're in stock and ready to ship. But for the most part, these gloves are going to be pretty much custom. So when you go down the little drop-down menu on their website, which I'll kind of go over here in a little bit more detail. So essentially you go there, it shows you the price of the gloves. From there you can pick the colorway, size. He gives you a t-shirt glove logo color, inner liner color, lace color, piping, seam cover, welting, color to be coordinated, optional, foam padding choice, horsehair foam. So you can get horsehair foam combo or foam only, like I mentioned before. So again, the type of foam you're going to use on this glove, it really depends on the purpose of the glove. He kind of advertises this glove, the horsehair foam version, as more of like a bag pad glove, pad work glove, not so much for sparring. You know, me personally, the consistency on here is medium to soft. So compared to the foam version, I would say probably the foam version, even though I haven't tried it, but I would venture to guess that the foam version is definitely a little bit more protective towards yourself and your sparring partner. So if you're going to use these gloves for everything in the gym, including sparring, maybe you would want to go with the all foam version. And it's not to say that you can't use these for sparring either. I just think that the all foam version is more suited for sparring specifically. And you could choose the version like I have here with the horsehair and the foam, which feels really nice. Peacemaker moniker has been synonymous with America's Wild West frontier for over 150 years. In modern parlance, it signifies any tool or method that uses strength or reputation to resolve a problem. With 1v1 Peacemaker horsehair bag training glove, see, both strength and reputation are abundant, built as homage to our country's great history of boxing. So just a lot there to unpack. I'll scroll down a little bit. I make these gloves the same whether they are lace-up or Velcro. This means that the Velcro glove will weigh the listed weight plus the weight of the strap, which means that they weigh 1.2 to 2 ounces over the listed weight. So he's just kind of giving you a heads up like, hey, this glove and the Velcro version, obviously this doesn't have the Velcro strap. Without the strap are the same weight, obviously without the laces too. But once he adds the strap on to the Velcro version, that's going to add an ounce or two. So all U.S. gloves are made to order with a production time that's in accordance with the updated schedule listed on the homepage. Customization, customs start at $900. Yeah, so that's pretty much it off of his website. Again, just a beautifully designed glove. And I love that horsehair foam combination padding. The color scheme too. I don't think I've ever had a pair of orange and blue gloves, at least that color combo, and then the cream, so it looks really sharp, but very well designed gloves. Okay, so next up is quality. These gloves are top notch. I will say this, I don't think I was able to find really any flaws with this glove in terms of just the overall manufacturing of it, from the leather to the stitching to the welted seams I mean, you got to see these gloves up in person, you know, and up close and personal, and you can really see. You know, I try to capture in the video so you guys can try to get an idea from just the video. But the leather on here, top notch. The stitching, top notch. And I expect that. I mean, that's what I really expect from a glove at this price point, which we'll discuss towards the end of the video and the cost part of the video. But I mean, you can see for yourself, the stitching is immaculate. The leather is great. Laces are high quality. I mean, laces can be replaced, right? So that means it's not a huge deal because you can always put your own laces, but piping looks amazing. Grip bars, nice and thick and solid. You can see where the leather meets, each panel of leather meets each other, looks good. The welted seams look done and cut nicely. The inner liner looks great. Piping at the bottom looks good. Weight distribution is on point. So you can see in terms of just placement of padding throughout the glove, where the weight distribution is not super floppy, meaning that like this midsection, you can really fold the gloves really easily. So distribution of the glove, weight distribution, excuse me, is really, really good there. And then weight, I put both gloves on the scale and they were both exactly at 16.2 ounces. So pretty much on exact point with weight, and both gloves were the exact same weight as each other. So in terms of weight, pretty much right there. I mean, 0.2 ounces off. I'm not really gonna complain about that very much at all, but both gloves just look immaculate. Stitch pattern, welted seams, leather. Again, you guys form your own opinion. Look at it for yourself. You tell me. Looks good. Weight balance is good. Pretty rigid there. Thumb piping, welted seams where the thumb meets the index finger. Palm side looks really good. So just very well done. Now putting them next to each other, obviously, just making sure that the gloves look the same. So in terms of symmetry, so same height, same width. Rotating to the non-thumb side, pre-curved hand compartment, this looks good. Coming to the palm side, thumb placement, positioning, piping, all looks really solid. You know, height, the piping distance between the thumb piping and the inner U-turn piping, like basically between this piping right here and the thumb piping, the base piping, just making sure the gap is the same on both. And they're pretty close. You know, some gloves you'll notice that this gap right here, and I know it's really, really, you know, you're really nitpicking, but you'll notice that sometimes the piping is crooked and it's almost touching, or it's really far and there's a huge gap right here. And you'll notice that between two gloves that weren't done very well, but you can see that it looks really good. The logos all line up perfectly. 1616, Peacemaker, Peacemaker. All looks really good. On top, rotating to the back side, bottom of the cuff. All looks really good as well. You know, the punch surface looks great. So overall, the quality of these are some of the best I've seen, honestly. Really top notch, very durable. And I've had these gloves for, I think, about 2 months now, if I want to recall, but I've used these in my rotation quite a bit just because I love the way they feel, and these have held up really nicely. Now, keep in mind, I do take care of my gloves. I don't just throw them in the bag and let them rot. I do take them out and condition them and let them air out. So that's a big part of it. So maintain your gloves, man. Especially you guys put a lot of money into your equipment. Take care of it. Okay, so up next is going to be comfort. Go ahead and get the gloves on. First things first, usually I talk about the liner on the gloves. That's typically, obviously, the first thing you feel when you put your hand into the gloves. Typically, you have your hand wraps on. Essentially, these gloves use two different types of liners. The palm side facing and the inner thumb uses a micro suede liner. Basically, suede is leather. It's like an unfinished leather. Suede is kind of like that material you find on the back side of a leather belt, the inside of a wallet, typically. But it feels very rugged, but not uncomfortable. It doesn't feel abrasive. It feels really good. It feels very rugged and just Has a very thick and durable feel to the inside of the liner on the palm, all the way to the finger compartment and the inside portion of the thumb on the blue side of the thumb. On the back of the hand, going over the top of your hand, over the top of your fingers, he utilizes a synthetic, basically like a polyester silky liner on the inside. So that feels really good as well. So you essentially have two types of liners. The wrist support feels really good, and it has a nice tapered closure. So essentially when you have these laced up, you don't have this huge gap at the bottom of the opening of the glove. It cinches up really nicely to where it feels really good at the opening of the glove. The thumb position feels great, so nice parallel thumb. The base piping at the opening of the thumb is large enough to accommodate your hand, and the position of the thumb being pushed in more, not flared out, allows for your thumb to feel pretty comfortable. And I really didn't have any issues with any type of pinching of my thumb and feeling like the circulation was getting cut off to my thumb. You're looking at about 1 inch of firm density foam padding on the back of the thumb with that polyester liner that feels really silky. And when you make a fist also, you don't have any issues with the attached thumb pulling down on the thumb to where when you land your punches, you feel like the tip of your thumb jams into the glove. At least I didn't have that issue with either one, the left or the right side. So you can see there, I make a fist, land a punch, have no issues there. I see the gloves are 80% broken in when you first get them. They're not like just the most super soft glove where you can just open and close your hand with zero resistance. There is a little bit of break-in time with these gloves, but they're definitely not stiff by any means. So, you know, I foresee if you use these gloves for maybe like a week of good consistent bag work, hitting the mitts or just training in the gym, that these will soften up really nicely, especially if you get the horsehair and foam versions like I have here. My favorite thing about the gloves on the interior of the hand compartment, aside from the liner and how the ergonomics feel, is going to be the secondary grip bar, which I haven't felt in a glove before. So essentially you have your standard grip bar here. Pretty much every glove out there has this grip bar. What Jason ended up doing was he put a secondary grip bar, which again, a lot of companies do, but his is extra wider and it's thicker. And it's made of that same micro suede material. And it feels like it's maybe about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch in thickness. So you're grabbing on almost like this secondary grip bar that you're grabbing onto, and you're really making this nice tight fist, which I feel feels great. So to me, that was a big game changer. Obviously you can't see it from the outside. I wish I was able to like show you like an X-ray version of the gloves from the inside, but that secondary grip bar is a huge game changer in my opinion, because you know just as much as I do, I feel like the protective portion of the gloves not so much rests on the padding as it does in your hand position and how well you can really make a nice tight fist. And that's, to me, with that first grip bar and that secondary one, it really allows you to put your hand into this really nice, perfect position to land your punch consistently every time. You know, and as you're throwing your punches, you know, for example, against a heavy bag, to me, that's really where you're going to get the most level of satisfaction with these gloves, is that feeling of landing on your two front knuckles, that visceral sound as you land your punches. So to me, that's a big game changer, both with the comfort and the ergonomics of the glove, but overall, extremely comfortable gloves. Protection and performance-wise, the horsehair foam versions like I have here, I say are actually pretty protective. And I say that because even though he utilizes horsehair in here, the foam compresses just enough to give you that nice flat punch surface and that sound that you want to hear and landing with those two front knuckles. But it denses up really nicely. It's kind of hard to describe. And the more you kind of push down on the foam and the horsehair, it really denses up nicely. So if you're wondering if this is the type of horsehair glove to where you can just push all the way through with relatively easy resistance, or no resistance should I say, this definitely has some denseness or firmness to it that you have to put a lot of effort into to really kind of push through. So that foam combined with the horsehair gives you the feedback you're looking for, the pop, the bang, right, that you hear, but you also get a good level of shock absorption with these gloves. Now, The all foam version, I have not tried them, but I would imagine that you probably get more shock absorption with those, but you probably don't get the as good of a flat surface you would with the horsehair. And you can also tell that it's horsehair because of the kind of the inconsistent surface, right? Horsehair is not going to be an even surface. So anytime you have horsehair gloves, you'll typically notice that there's like little bumps and divots, which is normal for a horsehair glove. It's not going to be a flat foam surface to where it's always going to rebound and spring back and look exactly the same every time. Horsehair is going to kind of conform to the surface that it's landing on. So I definitely like the way that feels. I would say that these are balanced, maybe a hair on the puncher side, but still very protective for what they are. And quite frankly, this type of foam padding consistency is probably some of my favorite for me personally, just because of how you're able to land every shot. Feels great, sounds good, and overall a great performer. And lastly is cost. I know this is the big one. These gloves, retail for both the lace-up and Velcro version at $700. Custom start at $900. Now I know you guys are probably getting ready to jump out of your seat, but we've done this before, right, guys? To me, this glove, really any of the gloves from 1v1, except for like the ARC gloves, which are outsourced and made overseas. But these are essentially, again, I say this like other brands like Barrick, Donardo, the very high-end brands that are just really made by like one person, or either one person or it's like just a handful of people. But typically the shops like that, where it's just one guy making it, obviously John Gollum, whose family were the original Everlast. This is a boutique. This is like a timepiece, right? It's like comparing a Casio Timex watch to a Rolex or a Panerai or a Tag watch, right? Those are timepieces. They tell you the same thing, right? They tell you the time, but one's $15,000 while the other one's $150, right? So that's kind of the difference between the two. So for those of you saying, well, that's crazy, it's expensive, it is. I'm not denying that. But to me, this is the kind of glove that if you're looking for a long-lasting glove made in America, high quality, checks off all the boxes, and you just happen to have the budget for it, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna splurge, I'm gonna treat myself, I'm gonna get me a glove I really, really want, that's high quality, then this would be that glove. And just like the other brands I mentioned a little earlier. So that's really where you have to find that balance. It doesn't necessarily mean that the glove is extremely overpriced. I mean, to some it may be, and I can completely understand that. And some of you guys might be looking at it and be like, I don't need $800 gloves. I just need $100 title boxing gloves. And that's perfectly fine too. So it's just, I say it's subjective. There's really no right or wrong answer when it comes to that. At least when it comes to a kind of a high-end boutique timepiece glove, if you want to call it. So yes, it's expensive. Yes, you're going to be paying a lot of money for it. Prices have increased. So, I think to me, it's nice to see gloves. And I know I say this because you see winnings that are like $500, $600, $700. Obviously, winnings are winnings, right? They have that reputation. But I can comfortably say like the quality of these gloves are at that level, if not better, right? So there kind of comes a bridge where you're going to cross where you're like, okay, at some point, I'm just really paying for the name and the reputation, right? Not so much is the gloves better or worse quality than this one, but I'm paying for that, right, on the back of the glove. So overall, I'm extremely satisfied with these gloves. I think they perform amazing. They look great, very comfortable. And again, like I said earlier, they check off all the boxes, but amazing gloves nonetheless. So if you guys have any questions in the comments, you guys know what to do. Put them down below. I will put the link in the description box where you can find these 1v1 Peacemaker boxing gloves. See you guys later. Peace.